So going once, going twice, you sure? We'll give you just a minute to think about it. Now while we're doing that, welcome to TOOP TV. This week, we're covering some of the land tax issues with Kevin Foley before the March 20th election. You'll also head off and see this beautiful property at SA's finest at Beaumont. And of course, don't forget we are live and interactive at TOOP TV, so call us right now. Third, last and final call, you done? And silent at $2.1 million. Sold. Give a round of applause. Well, auctions have gone through the wars over the time I've been in it, but at the moment they are red hot. So it's a fantastic time to be in the market. And I noticed the reports coming out of the country all around Australia. Melbourne is sort of 85% clearance rate on massive volumes. So it really is all happening out there. It's just a terrific market. Later in the show, because auctions are so important and so prevalent, we've got some tips and some directions on how to best buy at auction. Now also, there's been this massive hills movement here in Adelaide and South Australia. We're going to look at that, and we're going to go now and talk to some of those hills residents about what's terrific about living there and about country properties. So let's go inside story right now.
I don't consider the hills to be a holiday home. I would have thought the beach was more of a lifestyle choice for a holiday home.
People are sick of all the clutter of the city and they just want to be self-sufficient.
How kids can afford to shift up into the hills now, it's just getting way too expensive. But I can understand why they'd want to come up here, it's absolutely beautiful.
I think people like to get out from the big city and come up into, this is only, 30 minutes out of the CBD, so it's great.
People just love the country, and no one more than Arabella Cooper, our superstar, one of our champions of the hills. Hello, Arabella, how you going?
Good, thank you, Anthony. How are you?
Good, good. Now, Arabella, you've been selling a lot of property in the hills and through the country areas. Talk to me, what's the market like?
Market is really strong. Provider prices well aligned with how the market currently is. The time on market is quite low. And we're not seeing a huge growth in price or a huge jump in price. It's just a very quick, honest sale at the moment.
So it wasn't that long ago that I remember, I think it was in 2008, last quarter, that it was pretty tough selling. Was that right?
End of 2008 was really tough in the hills, really tough. And then I suppose we experienced a transition, perhaps in alignment early 2009, which then saw properties start to be realigned to where they should have been, and the market then to pick up again. So now we're seeing a lot more auctions than we were back in 2008, and perhaps they came into condition, maybe they didn't, but they're certainly holding strong now.
Now you live in Harndorf. We broke a very big barrier late last year together, didn't we? Tell me about that.
We cracked the $1 million mark for residential
Yes.
Harndorf, which was a massive coup for Harndorf, huge coup. So I'm still the talk of the town, which is great for me. And we're now experiencing that going into lots of other areas. So Mount Barker's cracked the $1 million. Little Hampton's now getting close to the $1 million. So I've just had a recent sale there, which is just under $950 for residential property there. Both of the two of us sold a big property in Flaxley together for just over $2 million late last year as well. So the hills market is certainly going well.
And what about Sterling? What a star performer. Tell me about Sterling.
Oh, Sterling's always been a strong performer, but we had a great sale last week for our Sterling property, which sold for $2.1 million. Of course, last year with the $3.3 million sale in Sterling as well. Sterling's just going gangbusters. The location's just superb.
Now, speaking of going gangbusters, you and I have discussed this off air. I just want to go through homeowners. They no longer a reality for many in today's paper. What's your take on that?
I think that's true, but you don't. I know you don't. And I think that's true because I think the generation now wants everything now, and so they can't afford it. So I think the rental market, as you say, is probably going to hold strong.
Right. So we've had, just for the listeners, we've had a little bit of an argy-bargy debate on this. But my take on this, having been in the business for so long, I'm just over 50, and when I was your age, you had to save for a house. You had to actually put money aside every week, gradually save up and get a big deposit. Then you go to the bank cap in hand and they would anoint you with the opportunity to maybe buy a property or send you back to earn some more money and then more savings. Nowadays, you're right. People just expect to just go, bang, let's go buy a house because I thought of it yesterday. And it's just, I personally think it's nonsense. I think that headline is nonsense. I think it's easier today to buy a house than it was 30 years ago when we were selling properties, and particularly for single women. You couldn't even get a loan for a single woman years ago. So
I think you'll probably find that the next generation probably will be like your thought pattern, but the current generation in that younger gen set are certainly wanting things now, the Gen Ys.
Anyway, notwithstanding that, I still have empathy with the fact that prices are moving. So like we're with you, we're all in the one boat. But the good thing for investors, if it is hard to buy, you're going to get good rents. Now we're going to move to Kevin Foley and land tax. Now I know some of you will glaze over because it's pretty heavy going, but land tax does impact everybody. So let's have a chat to Kevin Foley and see what the Labor government is talking when it comes to land tax for this election.